So welcome to the bonus episode of our Super Simple 2025 Champ Series guide. We've touched on some other characters, particularly like Kale and War Maiden so far. If you haven't seen the other ones for Apothecary, check those ones out. And then we'll get into a couple more after this one. But today we're touching on the Xenomorph, which is a free legendary from the current Alien collab going on right now. And I think you have up until January 6th to get your 7 logins done. And you have to start it, I think, by December 26th. And then you have up until the 6th of January to make sure you get those 7 logins to at least get your hands on the Xenomorph. The easiest thing for you to do is support the channel by checking out the link in the description below. You're gonna get a free legendary champion as well as up to $200 worth of free goodies. And don't forget up to 3 awesome epics as you level up inside of Raid. And be sure to use the code Desert Queen to get access to your new free legendary champion in the form of Tahana Rock. As always, this helps the channel out so much, guys, so be sure to check that description down in the link below and join me in Raid today. Now, why would you want to use Xenomorph? Why are they so strong? Now, Xenomorph is going to be a very, bulky, self-sufficient, and most importantly, poison damage dealer. Ironically, in the Dark Elves faction of all things. Poison is absolutely insane in this game for murking bosses. As a new player, you're going to like poison as a debuff, let me tell you. It's going to help you keep up with the scaling health and difficulty of things as you progress through the game. And Xenomorph does do that and other things as well. So we're going to be able to stack a ton of poisons like we talked about with Kale in his video, but this is like Kale on steroids. We're going to have some control for our enemies, and we're going to have a self-revive, and it's a legendary. So we're getting a big clan boss booster, basically, because we're getting legendary stats on our legendary character here. Now, the only way to get this character, though, like I said, if you started logging in December 26th, go do it now. As soon as you see this video, check the date, you can still get it. All right, just log in before the 26th of December and you can gain access to Xeno here. Now, what does the Xenomorph do here? Well, let's start in with a couple of the options here. Now, level 1 tail stab, the first skill here, simple, attack an enemy, and this is going to put a 5% poison debuff on them for 2 turns. If you critically hit, it's going to put 3 5% poison debuffs on an enemy. It's only 1 target, but this is so much damage. If you crit, putting 3 of these 5%, that is 15% max HP damage per time you use this skill per turn. But it's a 2-turn duration, meaning that 1 crit from tail stab is 30% max HP damage, and it also scales on attack, and it's going to do damage as well. But on top of that, it also gives a perfect veil to the Xenomorph on top of that, which is kind of like a stealth mechanic where they can't target you directly if you're the only perfect veiled person or there's someone on your team who isn't in a veil or perfect veil. It's great. It's amazing. We love this. In 1 skill, we're already kind of busted out here. All right. We're already kind of busted, but it gets better than that. The A2 at level 1 is going to have a 4-turn cooldown. You can take it down to a 3-turn cooldown here. This is Infestation, and this is going to attack a single enemy, and it's going to put a stun debuff and an infest debuff on that target for 2 turns as well. They cannot be resisted either if the champion Xenomorph is in Perfect Veil. So if you put Perfect Veil either with one of Xenomorph's skills we're going to go over, or another champion that just puts them in Perfect Veil, you can just lead off with this skill and start with a stun. It's crazy. On top of that, it has a passive effect associated with this skill. If the Xenomorph is to die and someone is under infest, the Xenomorph just revives with 50% health and pushes itself 50% turn meter, which is big because even if all the other skills you have access to, right, the S2, the S1, whatever, are all on cooldown, you get that 50% turn meter push, you just S1, you go back into Perfect Veil. You're good to go. If you can survive long enough again to get back to your infestation to put that on an enemy, you can then die and revive 1 more time, which is kind of wild. It's only a 3-turn cooldown. This is crowd control for like an ad or PvP. This is wild. This is crazy. Absolutely nutty ability. But on top of that, it gets even better okay? It puts true fear on all other enemies for 1 turn, and that also can't be resisted if you're under perfect veil. So this is like super giga hard crowd control, 1 target, crowd control on AoE as well, and it's going to help you revive. So this is like this ability does like 5 things, which is dumb. You thought the S1 and the S2 was good enough. The third ability, Rip and Claw. Rip and Tear, Rip and Claw. 4-turn cooldown, can go also down to a 3-turn cooldown here. Attacks an enemy 2 times, deals 15% more damage for every poison debuff on that target. It also is going to apply a perfect veil. So this one is, the big nuke. Basically, you spend a lot of time crowd controlling your enemies with your A2, putting a bunch of poisons on them with the Xenomorph, or maybe some other characters, like maybe you're running double DPS with Kale as well at this point. And then you go for the big Rip and Claw nuke, as it gets 15% stronger per poison debuff on that enemy, which is dumb. So this is like a giant nuke attack. Absolutely crazy. And then we have Caustic Blood, which is a passive that we do have. Luckily, we have a passive on our free collab Xenomorph character. Whenever you're attacked, you have a 25% chance to put a 5% poison debuff on the attacker for 2 turns as well, which is crazy. And if they crit you, then they can't resist the poison. Not the craziest thing there. If an enemy is under poison by this champion, it also has their defense decreased by 20%, which is dumb. So not only do we have stun and fear, big damage from poison, self-revive, multiple ways to go into a perfect veil status, we also have a defense shred from Xenomorph. So it's going to be buffing up its own damage when you go to nuke them with Rip and Claw. If you're running a secondary DPS or a sub DPS, it's going to buff up their damage there as well. So those combinations of skills are just absolutely nutty. And you might be asking me, well, where would I use this, man? Where are you not going to use him? If you're still going through the story, the one thing that the Xenomorph doesn't do as well as like Kale does as you're going through the story early on is you don't have like an AoE damage dealing thing to just clear out trash mobs and just get through stuff really fast, but you're going to have this super giga self-sufficient boss lane person for the story mode. It's not going to matter too much there. Once you get into clan bosses, it's going to be insane because we're doing percentage HP damage. Dungeons, percentage HP damage. Also has wave control with the crowd control with the fears and the stuns. Insane there. Same thing for arena. Poisons and then crowd control some people and then take them out with the A3 Rip and Claw. It's absolutely nutty. So how are we going to be focusing on Xenomorph and what should you expect? Now, it's only going to take you 7 days to get this guy leveled up at the base version. Once you log in, you can gain access to him after those 7 days, and you'll probably end up replacing Kale with him. So we're going to be focusing on making this a mainstay damage dealer, especially because the A1 needs to crit, so we get 3 poisons instead of just 1. 1 poison's fine. 3 is insane though. So the role for us is going to be that poison and nuker with some crowd control on the side. You can pair this person up with people like we talked about before. War Maiden's going to be awesome. You can farm them up. Apothecary, High Cocoon for a free-to-play style new player strategy is going to be awesome there. You can also get Reliquary Tender, which is, I don't think, someone we've actually talked about. Sneak peek for you if you're watching this video, as like a backup reviver. So you can probably take on content that's even more difficult than you really should be as you're progressing through a raid, because you're going to have self-revive with Xenomorph. The Xenomorph goes down again before you can put the Infest debuff on. Reliquary Tender is going to be able to bring your Xenomorph alive back again, push them up again, and then you can put Infestation on and you'll be good to go. So between those 2 revives, it's almost impossible to take the Xenomorph out for you new players as you are moving through content in raid. Now, what sort of stats would I focus on here? What kind of build are we looking for when we're checking out the Xenomorph, all things said and done? If you check out the reviews here, it does have offense on there, but I can see it, do some damage as a new player, pretty cool. But what you can also do is you are doing damage. It's not just poisons, right? You are building crit on this character. And so if you want to get into that like super, I can do everything, I can carry my new player, my team through everything, you can aim for like a lifesteal setup, all right, as that's going to heal you while you do damage. And then if you take too much damage, you get too unlucky. Maybe there's just a boss that hits way too hard with one of his skills. You'll have the revive there. You'll revive back. You'll push up. You'll do all this cool stuff. And then you'll have lifesteal set to heal you back up to full, just so you can make it back to putting infest on an enemy right before you die, so you can do that whole process all over again. So I like the lifesteal set on him. If you don't have access to it, that's fine. When we're aiming for specific pieces of gear for the Xenomorph though, if you're looking at gloves here, I'm gonna go with crit rate. I agree 1000%. Attack should be on your chest 1,000,000%. We're wearing speed boots as well. We're wearing speed boots. Try to get to 160, 170, 180 speed. You want to be cycling around, stacking poisons up. You want to be doing damage. You want to be cycling so you gain access to reducing the cooldowns on your very low cooldown 3-turn cooldown skills. Speed works very nice for that there as well. And then if you want to gain access to a little bit of accuracy so you can land some debuffs a little bit better on the A1 here, because this doesn't have the ignore effect resistance, right? Like some of the other stuff kind of does. Then you know what? I'm gonna go with get some effect resist. So for substats here, you want to get 100% crit rate. That is first and foremost what we're looking at. Then you want to get some speed up to that 170, 180 number. Then get attack percent. Those are the 3 most important stats. Then you can get like a little bit of accuracy for bosses if you want to, up to like 150, 200 eventually. And then crit damage is the last stat that I would focus on. You want to have crit so you can do the poisons. Then you boost up your attack, you boost up your speed, and then you boost up a little bit of accuracy to hit some of those thresholds as you're getting into harder content. And then finally, you know, cherry on the top, a little bit bonus extra damage there with crit damage as a sub stat. Now, when you're trying to min-max what sort of order you should be leveling your skills and your talents here with your books, I would 1000% tell you that you should max out the A2 first. We want to have this cooldown available as soon as possible, because one of the strengths of the Xenomorph is that you are able to have this revive self-sufficient sort of BS mechanic for bosses out there anyway in content where the game's trying to kill your characters and you're just like, nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to come back. My DPS is just going to keep coming back. So you want to max this one out first, and then afterwards you will eventually want to max out both the A1 and the A3. I would do the A3 first, because a lot of the damage you're getting from tail stab is just the triple poison effect. This is like your true utility skill. It does do damage, but the cooldown on rip and claw will give you more damage over time, because this just hits so hard. So max out the A2, then the A3, and then go for the A1 afterwards. That was 1000% the skill priority that you should be going for. The passive here, the debuff chance, listen, I'm not gonna try to sell this to you. The whole like, if I get hit, I can poison you. It's pretty cool, and I can use books to level it up. I'm not the biggest fan of this. Remember, you're gonna be in perfect fail a lot of the time, and you're still, you know, not gonna be like the tankiest person. That's why you have the self-revive and worrying lifesteal. You're not trying to get your Xenomorph focus targeted down over and over and over. This can help. It can do a little bit more damage for you, but for telling you to put books into this early on, I don't really particularly care, but you'll probably want to max it out eventually anyways, especially if you're like a PvPer at some point. So if you follow the pieces of gear and guides that we just went through, the Xenomorph is going to be an absolute legendary monster for you. You can just see the reviews in game. It's pretty much good at everything, and it's probably one of the best free characters I've seen in any gacha game I've played ever, period. You let me know if you've seen anyone better than this. I'm not trying to like schmooze it too much here, but I've played a lot of gachas, and for free characters, this one is just absolutely wild out there. So if you're new to Raid, make sure you go down, check out the description below, check my link, install it there, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care. Why did I rhyme again, bro? I'm not a rapper.